Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features the Uncanny X-Men number 254, cover dated early December 1989. So this cover is by Jim Lee with inks by Dan Green, and it is a sort of homage to the cover of Giant Size X-Men number 1. And in the background here there is paste-ups from, this is clear in the Essential Edition, but paste-ups from Uncanny X-Men number 94. So there is a type of allusion to the origins of a new team, and this is the new team, apparently, with this magenta background here busting through this bricolage of past covers. And we've got Forge, we've got Moira MacTaggart with her trademark machine gun. We've got Lorna, Dane, and then Banshee, of course. And then it's a little unclear about some of the other characters, but this is Amanda Sefton, who appeared in the previous issue. This is Sunder, one of the survivors of the Morlock Massacre, and this is David Haller, Professor X's son. Otherwise known as Legion, because of his multiple personalities. So let's open this one up, and the splash page here features Lorna Dane being assessed by, it turns out, Moira MacTaggart, even though her style of dress is not what one would expect or the way she was seen in the previous issue. So the creative team here is Chris Claremont, writer as ever, Marc Silvestri and Dan Green credited as artists. And what that means is that Silvestri is doing, I think, breakdowns here, and some of the pages later on in the issue pretty much indicate very loose breakdowns from Silvestri and finishes by Dan Green. Greg Wright is the colorist, so not Glynis Oliver on this issue, and Tom Orzechowski is the letterer. So the title splash caption, all new, all different, here we go again. And what's happening here is Moira is confirming that there are no traces of malice in Lorna's psyche, so she's completely rid of the marauder malice. And that goes back to Uncanny X-Men 250, but she's also lost her native mutant powers over magnetic forces. And it's a mystery to Moira regarding these apparent new powers that Lorna has in terms of growing in size, strength, and invulnerability. And here we get a shot of Moira wearing this kind of a sexy type outfit. And there is a little mystery as regards what's going on here, but some of it is down to Lorna's new power, which raises aggression and more primal instincts in those around her. But also later on in the issue, it's revealed that Legion is playing a role as well. One of Legion's sub-personalities, the Jack Wayne sub-personality. So there's mysterious things afoot on Muir Isle, and it is pretty much starting in this issue and continues threading its way through many of the subsequent issues in the coming year. So what's happening here is Banshee is being sent to collect Brigadier Stuart and Amanda Sefton down the west coast of Scotland at the port of Ullapool. And when they're going out on the speedboat here, Banshee is targeted by someone or other and shot in the back. And who does it turn out to be except the Reavers, specifically the Hellfire trio of Macon, Reese and Cole. And then they target Brigadier Stuart, and she's pulled off the ship just in time by Amanda, who's dived in after Banshee. And then the boat explodes with the explosive round that was shot at it by one of the Reavers, I think Cole there. And then we got this like weird little scene where Amanda, who's a sorceress, uses her powers to transform into a type of mermaid type creature, which allows her and Brigadier Stuart to breed underwater, and then they rescue Banshee. And then one of Amanda's other powers is teleportation, so they teleport to Muir Isle. Now this particular page looks really good in black and white, and I like Silvestri's kind of mermaid type design, kind of weird and freaky, and I like the rendering of the undersea environment there as well. But I like Greg Wright's colors here too. I think they match the underwater scene. So then they make their way back to Muir Isle, and Banshee, of course, apparently fatally wounded by the round shot off by one of the Reavers, Cole, I think. And Moira arrives in time to treat Banshee with the aid of Sharon Friedlander, who's a nurse by profession and acts as Moira's assistant here. We also have Tom Corsi here, last seen in Uncanny X-Men number 212. So what we're getting in this kind of Muir Island focused story is some characters from the X-Men mythos that readers haven't seen in some time, and now they're coming together and are about to become a sort of substitute X-Men in the absence of the true X-Men. So Moira here opening up Banshee's shirt, and then ordering Amanda to get the characters here into X-Men uniforms, because they're body armor as well. They're environmental suits that protect you from all manners of weather extremes, but most importantly, they're body armor. So Amanda casts a spell here, and then we get this weird panel where all the characters except for Lorna come out dressed in these kind of kinky S&M bondage type gear. So the spell went wrong. And again, this is part of the weirdness going on Muir Isle, where baser instincts of characters, their aggression, their sexual instincts are coming to the fore, partly because of Lorna and her mysterious new powers, and partly because of Legion, as it turns out. So then they go down to a locker room and they pull out the actual uniforms, and these uniforms go back to Kirby's original designs, and also the uniforms worn by the New Mutants. And then the scene switches to the ruins of Professor X's mansion in Westchester, upstate New York, because in the previous issue Moira sent Callisto to secure the underground complex beneath the X mansion so that no one nefarious could get access to it. And what turns out is that she has been taken captive by the survivors of the mutant massacre, the surviving Morlocks, who are under the leadership now of, it turns out, Mask. And this is a pretty horrific scene where Mask uses his powers, which give him control over flesh, blood and bone, to reshape Callisto's face into this horrifying version here, with the poking out teeth and a kind of ruined face. So pretty freaky here. And then we go back to Muir Isle, and it turns out that Muir Isle is host to a number of different people, including Sunder, one of the survivors of the mutant massacre. And these characters here, Warpies, these children that first showed up in the Captain Britain series and were created by the reality warping powers of Jim Jaspers. And here they are showing up on Muir Isle. And then the Reavers attack. So we've got Skullbuster, Bonebreaker, Pretty Boy attacking. And around this point now, Silvestri's art has gotten quite loose. So this is Dan Green really finishing the art here on this and subsequent pages. And this is where we get to see this interesting version of Legion. And also some people have noted he's misnamed here, Daniel Haller, when his real name is David. So that's something Bob Harris should have picked up on. And he uses his power to create a shield which spares the Warpies, but then he opens the shield, so Sunder's caught in the back by the Reavers' gunfire. And then here Bonebreaker has the drop on him, it seems. Again, the art here is quite loose. And then we get Tom Corsi getting involved in the fight and comparing himself to Bruce Willis, Mel Gibson and Rambo all at once. So Claremont having some fun in relation to the action sequence here itself, all the guns and machismo. And then Lorna, using her new strength and invulnerability, gets involved and gets this hook into Bonebreaker's chassis and starts pulling him towards her, while Pretty Boy tries to pull away, pull his mate away. And then Legion uses his powers to snap the chain, and he's just enjoying the sport of it all. And then Skullbuster gets the jump on him from behind, but Legion defends himself. And here we see this really wicked face as Tom Corsi's pulling Legion away. And Legion asks, will they attack again? Will there be more fighting? And Tom says, afraid so. Good, I can't wait. This is fun. And then we get this interesting sequence here with Irene Adler of Freedom Force, where she's in some kind of dream vision, precognitive vision, and the whole world is turned to crystal. The clock here is about to strike midnight. It's ticking all through the sequence, and she gets this kind of sublime vision of the universe. Overhead, a crystal moon glitters in the firmament beside a crystal sun, and suddenly I am the one overhead, with the vast panoply of the Milky Way strewn before me, all the stars that ever were, the beings that live on their attendant worlds. No more I weep, without knowing whether from grief at what's been lost, or joy at the indescribable glory that remains. Very strange moment, evoking the sublime, the awesome beauty of cosmos, time, finitude, and Irene having a precognitive vision of her own passing or death as the clock strikes midnight, and the crystal version of herself shatters. And then we find her in the kitchen with Raven, Mystique, and a phone call comes through from Val Cooper. And as a bit of a joke, Mystique transforms into Val and answers the phone in Val's form and voice. And then we switch back to Muir Isle, and we have this action sequence where Amanda Sefton is down on the beach defending the island from the attack of the Hellfire Trio Reavers. And ultimately she and Brigadier Stuart are captured by the Reavers, and here they are bound and being taken prisoner at the end of this sequence. And then we switch back to the United States, specifically Washington DC, where Mystique has accepted Val's call to come to Washington, but is upset here at being instructed to work with Forge, who's come to Washington in order to get the assistance of Val and others to help the surviving X-Men on Moira MacTaggart's research center on Muir Isle. Now, something that I noted about this page in particular, and it's much clearer in the Essential Edition, is this is not inked by Dan Green. My take on who's inking this is Terry Austin. It has to be Terry Austin. The line making is very much like Austin. And as I said, if you take a look at this, if you have this in the Essentials edition or can look at this in black and white, it's much clearer that this is Terry Austin, but not credited for this page. Let me know what you think in the comments to this video on that point. So Mystique doesn't want to work with Forge because it's her belief from the last time we saw her in the X-Men, in an X-Men comic back in 227 at the end of Fall of the Mutants, that Forge, his spell, was responsible for the death of the X-Men, including her foster daughter Rogue, and so she has a tremendous hate for Forge. But Irene tells her that their two futures, Forge and Mystique's, are intimately intertwined. And that'll be the day, says Mystique. But Irene thinks to herself, far sooner, my dear, than you dare suspect. So foreshadowing things to come. Then we switch back to Muir Isle again, and again you can really clearly see here how loose Silvestri's pencils must have been, finished by Dan Green. And Banshee is healed of his gunshot wound by the Morlock's healer here, who's also on Muir Isle. The debate here is between Sharon and Moira regarding the wisdom of having Banshee join the fight. As Moira says, Banshee's sonic scream is desperately needed. Sharon thinks he needs to rest and recuperate further, but Banshee says, you know, don't I have any say? He's prepared to get involved, but he also notes in his thoughts Moira's so changed, inside as well as out, as though all the wild warrior Highlander parts of her nature have suddenly pushed to the fore. And this is again something to do with Lorna Dane's mysterious new power, but also likely to do with Legion's subtle influencing of characters on the island through his Jack Wayne persona or subpersonality. And we also see here part of this wild, aggressive Moira is just grabbing Banshee's, the back of his hair, and kissing him there to reward him for his agreement to take part in the defense of the island. And then our last page, we switch to Sunder here, the powerhouse Morlock, who's taking Skull Buster apart, but is shot in the back by Pretty Boy. And then the three Reavers determine to find everyone else on the island and drop them stone cold dead. So that's our cliffhanger for the end of this issue. So I do hope that you enjoyed this review and commentary on Uncanny X-Men 254. If you did, please like the video, and if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.